also as a school, but they're operating under two different EIN. If you have one EIN, if you're a masjid that has a Sunday school, and your Sunday school or your school is under your EIN, then it's only one application. But if you have a masjid that also have an accredited school that has a separate EIN, then those are two entities. And so it's based on one per EIN, one per company, or one per eligible individual company. Right now, it's 349 billion that's been allocated for the loans. And my understanding is that they've already given out 100 billion, even though it started like 2 days ago. So it's on a first come, first serve basis. Everybody qualifies, everybody, there's some chance that they will meet, but once the loan run out, we don't know if you'll be able to get it. Next slide, please. So the whole point of the PPP loan is because we know with the coronavirus, businesses are suffering. People cannot go to work. People don't want to come to work. You have restaurants that are empty, but some people are still ordering in, and you're trying to make sure that your business keep going. So as a way to help businesses during this time where income is going down, there's a loss, the masajid, right? Less people are coming to the masjid. We used to have collection on Fridays, but now that we're not doing Juma services, you know, the collection is gone down. And so, but we still have to pay our imams. We still have to pay people that work for the masjid. So that's what that means, that businesses are struggling, and in a way to be able to keep their employees, to be able to make their payroll, to be able to pay their mortgages if they have some. And so that's what the PPP is supposed to be used for. So you use it to pay for your rent payment, for your utility, and for your mortgage interest, not the principal, but the mortgage interest part of your loan. For the PPP, you have to do it through a bank. You will have to provide documentation to your bank. It's an SBA loan, but it goes through your banker. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, and the documents that you will need to provide. But basically, you need to provide documentation to your lender about your payroll. You will also need to prove those, once you get the loan, I think at the beginning, you don't have to provide much information. You give them and said, I have this much, and we'll talk about how you come up with those figures. We want to make sure it's accurate. We want to make sure it's correct. So, but once you get the loan, you have some time to provide the information to back it up. You have to show that you use that money to pay for your payroll and the interest and the utility. Now, if you're not able to provide that information, then you have to pay the interest on the loan. If you are able to provide the information and the documentation, then the loan will be forgiven, as long as 75% of the loan is used for payroll. So you have to use 75% to pay your employees, and then you can use 25% to pay for your mortgage or your rent or your utility. If you meet those criteria and you can provide the documentation that shows that's what you did, then the entire loan will be forgiven. Even though it's supposed to have interest, you will not have to pay that. Now, if you get the money and you're not able to provide that, then you will have to pay the interest. And it's supposed to not be ready for payment until after 6 months, but the interest will keep accruing during that time. If you're able to prove it, then everything goes away. If you're not able to prove it, then you're going to have to pay everything. So the next slide talks about, yes, so the first 6 payment is deferred. You get a loan, you all know, mortgage loan, whatever loan, usually they give you a month. With the PPP, you get 6 months before you have to start paying on the loan. But interest will continue to accrue. So in a situation, like I said, if you're not able to justify it, you'll have to pay all of that. Now, there's no collateral needed on the PPP loan. You don't have to put up your house or put up your building. There's no collateral. You don't have to have personal guarantees. For masajid, you know, sometimes, or 501c3, any organization, when you're trying to get a loan, because it's a business, the bank will say, oh, I want the board of directors to guarantee the loan. I want the owner to guarantee the loan. In the case of the PPP loan, there's no collateral and there's no guarantee required. Also, like I said, there's a possibility for the loan to be forgiven up to 100%. And again, the loans are processed by the banks. Next slide, please. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Or if you have any question, put it in the chat box. We'll make this available. We're recording it, I believe. And so all of this information will be available, and we'll also take questions towards the end. And so when you're thinking about, and this is very important, as you're thinking about, do we want to do this? Don't we want to do this? It's important to know what information you would need to provide to your lenders. And you need to make sure that you're collecting those information. If you're not doing that now, which is a good business practice for you to have documentation of the money that you're spending regardless, right? But if you're not doing that for whatever reason, then you need to start doing that now. So what would they need from you? You would need to show your monthly, the calculation is based on your average monthly payroll. They take your payroll and they net it out, average it out, right? And then for your payroll expenses, they're going to look at your 941s especially, which is your payroll that you file, your payroll taxes at the end of the quarter. That's your justification. For your lease payment, they want to look at the lease agreement. Lease agreement, they want to look at your checks, cancel checks, where you pay that. For your utility, the same thing, if you're using the 25% of your utility. Those are things that you will need to show to say that, well, I spend this money on payroll and I spend this part on my utility. So you need to have all of those ready at the time that you need to show the certification. Next line. So now, this is where it gets interesting. SBA loan historically has always been through a bank. And so same with the PPP loan, because it is an SBA loan, you have to get it to your bank. Everyone has a banker. Every masjid, every individual has a bank that they use. And so if you have a relationship with your bank, great. But if you don't, this is a time to have one. And you should be able to go in and to be able to talk to them about getting the loan. When you do call them, most banks that are familiar with the SBA loans and the PPP loans or former SBA loans or the type of SBA loans have information on their website. And a lot of them are actually putting together application. I got one from one of my banks that sent it to me. Some of you could have received that from your bankers and they may have it already. If they don't or they're not servicing SBA loan, it used to be that only special banks, certain banks qualify to do SBA loan. But right now they've opened it to all banks. But let's just say your bank is not doing it for whatever reason, then you will need to look for a bank that does. And they may want a relationship with you. But that's a question you will need to ask your banker before you go in.
So I was going to, I was going to show you what the application actually looks like for the PPP.
Yes.
So let me stop sharing for a moment. And
so the SBA.gov has the application, and I think that Sabina may have sent that out in one of the emails where you can actually see what the application looks like. What most of the banks are doing, they're adapting the SBA form, and just some of them just put their names on it. Some of them are using it as is. But basically, the basic information on the SBA website is what you're trying to use. And so if you look at the form that Sabina just pulled up on the screen.
Is it there?
Yes, it's showing. Yes.
Okay.
Can everybody see it?
I'm
trying to see if I can pull it up on a bigger screen because I'm on my cell phone. So
let me stop sharing it for a second. Let me share it again and maybe it come out right. Okay.
Okay. So it asks you on the top of the form, what kind of entity are you? Are you a sole proprietor, meaning that you work for yourself? You're a mom and pop business. You're using your social security number, or you may even have, or you're not a registered business with the state of Tennessee. So you are a sole proprietor, or it is you and your brother that are working together with an EIN. That's a partnership. Will everybody please mute their phone? Are you a C Corp? Are you an S Corp? Are you an independent contractor? Meaning that, you know, you're working for a sole proprietorship. Sometimes will have employees, other people working for them, but sometimes an independent contractor is just themselves by themselves doing everything. You're a plumber. You're going to people's houses to fix things. They pay you at the end of the day, you know, so you could be, those are the terminology they're using for both of them, 501c3. And so it has for your business legal name, your EIN, very basic information. It asks for the ownership of the business. And so you need to be able to put who are the owners of your business. It's either you, if you're a corporation, then you have your your owners, not your board of directors, but your owners. You put all of that information in there with the information. It's asking you question, yes or no question. Basically, you just go through all of that. Have you ever been suspended? Have you ever been debarred? One thing that I would say is, and I don't know, part of the people that are not eligible for the PPP loan are people that have defaulted on their loans before. So if you have an SBA loan before and you defaulted on it, you will not qualify for the PPP loan. If you've had problem with IRS where you have, not that you have a payment arrangement that you're making and you're on time, that's not called defaulted. But if you've defaulted to where you haven't paid it and nothing has happened, you may not qualify for the PPP loan. And so that's why it's asking here, have you ever been debarred, have you been suspended by your licensing organization in your business? Have you ever involved in a bankruptcy? Those questions are to be able to determine your eligibility as well. So basically, Walaikum salam.
On the top where it says ownership for
Yes.
a masjid, because it's a nonprofit, there's no owner. So what do you put there?
For masjid, there is no owner. There's no owner. That is correct. So you do not have an owner. And once you check 501c3 non-for-profit on the top of it, that should suffice. Now, I would go ahead and clarify some more because it said 20% of the equity, which we don't have. So my understanding is that that does not apply. But let me check if they want the board of directors to be able, like the officers, if they want the information on the officers. Let me clarify that and get that back to everybody. But based on the way the form is written right now, it's talking about equity ownership, and we don't have that in non-for-profit. So that will be blank. And if you check 501c3, that should take care of that. But again, so that, because this is fluid and as we're going through it, I want to make sure that if my understanding is not correct, that I get back with you. I'll talk to the SBA people tomorrow and I will give you an answer definitely. But the way the form is written, as a 501c3, once you check the box on the top that says you're non-for-profit, the ownership would not apply.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So any felony, just go to and then this is very important. If you go to, once you answer all the question, there is a certification on page 2. And I wanted to make sure that I stress this to everybody because we know that this is money that is available, because we know that on the front end, there's no collateral. The SBA and the federal government is relying on us. It's like an honor code here. This certification, you're saying that every information that I put here is correct. Every information that I put here is, to the best of my ability, true and truthful. If you sign the certification and it ended up not to be correct, you will be subject to a penalty. And it's a FT penalty. So I'm going to encourage everyone that let us fill it out correctly. If we're not sure, let us ask the question. And we can go over in detail some of the questions that you may have later as to what is this and what is that. But I wanted to let you know that, yes, on the front end, you check the box. They're not going to check anything. They will take your word for it. But if they later find out that any of the information is not correct, there is a penalty that is attached to it. And I believe it's from 25,000 to 250,000. So it's not worth it. So let's be very careful that we're using the right records and the right information. And again, we can talk about what are those records and what are those information, inshallah. So you've read it, you're certifying that you're an independent contractor, you're certifying that you're following all the information that is required, and so you're saying that it's because of this coronavirus, all of this that is creating hardship on your business, and that you will be using 75% for payroll and not more than 25% for your other eligible expenses. Again, if you do not do that, that doesn't mean you can still not get the money. Please be mindful that if you did not use it, 75, 25, or 100% payroll, like we said, doesn't mean you will not get the money, but know that you will be subjected to that 1% interest rate. I also want to clarify that as of last week, maybe Thursday, the interest was 0.5%, but it's now 1%. So it could change again. I'm hoping it does not, but please be mindful that it could change again. But that is the certification. That's what the form looks like. Once you've been able to look at it, if you have additional question, you can send it and we will try to answer it or get it to a bank or an SBA person. But we wanted to make sure that you're familiar with what the question look like and what the application looks like.
Okay, let's go to the chat box. There's some questions before we move on.
Okay.
What if I have employees that you pay cash?
So I know some businesses do this. It's not a good practice to pay your employees with cash. It's not a good practice because what you're doing are two things: either they're not reporting it, you're not reporting it, or you're reporting it, but you have no way to back it up. And so often I tell my clients that if you get audited by IRS, and anybody can be audited by IRS, your proof that you pay that expenses that you're deducting, because you're deducting it on your tax return and you're saying, I paid these people $10,000, for example. But if you're audited and they come and say, show proof that you paid it, you have no proof because there's no record of those people being paid. And so it's a very shady, not good practice to pay with cash. After having said that, we know some people don't have bank accounts. We know there might be a situation where you cannot control that. What you have to do is make sure that all those people that you're paying, you have a W-4 on file for them as your employees. Two, if you make sure everybody sign whatever, so I'm giving you $100, you put in your initials and your signature behind it. And then when you file your payroll forms, you're making sure that all of those is reported. So that's what you will have to do. And so I don't support paying with cash, but if you have to pay with cash, I understand. The people in our country that cannot get a bank account, the people that are felons, that have, come out making their life, doing what they need to do, but society is still blocking them from doing some things. I get that. Some banks will not let you open an account based on your past credit. I get that. But the idea is that there has to be proper documentation. And so I will say, if you're paying anybody with cash, again, I'm saying don't. That's my first advice. If you have to, then have them sign for it. Have a picture beside it and their signature with it, something to show that you paid this person. And then make sure that at the end of the year, you're giving them a W-2. Make sure you have a W-4 on file. Make sure you have an I-9 showing that they're eligible to work in the United States. So you have to do that. You have to follow those that way. If you have to show documentation and proof, then you have that, okay, I'm employing people that are eligible to work, and I'm also paying people and not ghost employees.
Then another question was, some banks ask for previous loan history, but Masjids do not have it. What do we do?
They should not deny you because you don't have a loan history. They should not. It's a question they're asking, and you let them know that you do not have it. Again, I will recommend that for these loans, go to a bank that you've had history with. So if you've been banking with a bank for 10 years, you have a good record with them, and they see the history of you putting money in and paying people and all of that, even though you don't have a loan history, you have a banking history. And so that's my recommendation. Everybody that has a business as a bank, I'm hoping that everybody has a bank that they've been making transactions with for the last 2, 3, 4 years, whenever it is. And so go to your banker that you have a relationship with, and they should be able to. The fact that you don't have a loan before is not the reason for them to disqualify you. Now, if you're still not able to get it from your banker, then you may want to try another bank. There will be banks that will work with you on this. But again, you're better off with somebody that knows you, that has your banking history. That's where I will go first.
Okay. If the masjid is fully run by volunteers, I guess the question is that they don't have anyone on payroll. Does that exclude that masjid then, for the payroll protection plan?
Yes, it does. It does, because the payroll protection plan is based on employees. It's mostly for employees. So there will be for the PPP, it's employees. Now they're working on another one, which will be for contractors and self-employed that don't have employees, and that application will be open April 10th. And I believe that that's where those that don't have employees, that work on their own, that use contractors and things like that, that is, but we don't have all the information on that. We don't have the application, but I believe that that will be coming up April 10th. My understanding is that if you don't have employees, that is the one that you will be able to apply for. So, but for the PPP, it's payroll protection. If you don't have payroll, you don't qualify. Now, most masajid only have just the imam. That is a payroll. So if you're paying your imam as a W-2 minister, that is a payroll that you run. So you don't have to have 100 employees, but if you have 1 or 2 people that you're paying, those are employees. But if you're not paying anybody on the W-2, then you do not qualify for the PPP.
So another question is there any conditions for eligibility that, and how much an organization has in the bank? So like if you have a lot of money in the bank, would that disqualify you from getting this loan?
No. I have not seen anything that says that your qualification will be based on how much money you have or do not have in the bank. Now, you need to understand that we're talking about payroll payment. Now, a business has a lot of expenses. It's not just payroll. And the fact that you have money in the bank does not mean that you're doing okay. You might need that money to pay your mortgage. You might need that money to pay for your inventory. You might need that money to pay for other expenses relating to your business. So you cannot be disqualified based on that. And so no, having money in the bank or not having money in the bank is not a condition for the PPP loan. Would you please mute if you're not speaking, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, to qualify for PPP, you have to be a U.S. citizen or green card holder.
Yes, that is correct. Right now, the loan, yes, it has to be a U.S. citizen and or a green card holder. The same goes for your employees as well. The employees on your payroll, they have to be U.S. citizens or green card holders. Yes,
so
that is a condition.
So the loan amount, we know that if you're spending 75% on payroll, I mean, what is the time frame that you have to be spending it on payroll to get it forgiven?
I believe that if I can go back to my notes here, I believe
like that first 8 weeks from the time you
get the loan. So from the time you're approved. From the time you approve, 8 weeks is the time that you have to certify that you're paying those people for. That is correct.
And it says, what if my bank does not do SBA PPPs? And
then I would try another bank. I actually asked my friend who is one of the founder of a bank today. Is the one that I was saying that maybe he can come on the call with me. I wanted to ask him if people are having problem, can they come to his bank? So if your bank is not doing it, then you will have to go to a bank that does it. and it's a question of finding that bank. So we can see if we can find banks that are taking new customers to help them do this. But again, as a lender, historically, lenders want to work with people that they know, that the people that they have a history with, that they know that they can verify the information. That's what lenders will do. But if your lender is not, and you still need to apply, then you will have to look for another bank that that will do it for you.
So I don't know. I think we might, there was one more question. If somebody is self-employed and they own their business, can they apply for the PPP?
They can if they have employees. So you can be self-employed and have your own business, but you have other people working for you, right? And so as long as you're making payroll, then you can apply. So if you don't have employees, then for the PPP, remember we're just talking about the payroll protection plan, protection program rather. We're talking about the paycheck protection program that has to do with payroll. So if you're self-employed, you have your beauty shop, you have your flower shop, you have your restaurant, but you hired people and they're working for you, and you're paying them salary and recording the payroll and doing the 941, you do qualify. So it really doesn't matter whether you're a corporation or whatever it is, as long as you have payroll and you have employees, yes, you do qualify.
Okay. So, yeah, I want to be able to get to the next part or before answering all these questions, because I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about the EIDL loans. So let's go here and then we'll come back to the questions. So here's the EIDL emergency.
So the EIDL loan is the other type of loan that the Small Business Administration is doing. Again, this is for businesses that are impacted by the COVID, and to be able to show that you have loss of revenue, your business is not doing well, and this is as a result of the virus. Now, part of what they're doing with the EIDL is that there is an advance associated with it, where when you apply for the loan, you are eligible to get up to $10,000 of advance. So when you do apply, so on the website right now, you see the application for the advance, and it's because they're still working on the rest of the application for the main EIDL loan. So when you go online, yes, you can apply 10,000 advance. I'm trying to see what Sabina is showing me up there. And so that application is not just for employees, it's not like the payroll, it's for running your businesses, it's for your working capital, it's for paying everything that is associated with running a business. Remember, the PPP has to do with payroll, but this one is saying, look, we got to buy our inventory, we got to pay for our store. There's so many things that goes into running a business, and that's what the EIDL loan is for. And so you can get up to $2 million in EIDL loan. Right now, my understanding is that the interest rate for the EIDL loan is 3.75%. They will ask you a bunch of information if you do qualify. Again, up to $2 million is what you get for the EIDL loan, but they're allowing people to apply and get a 10% advance. And the idea is that at the time, they were not sure how fast they can get the application for the PPP and the EIDL ready. And so it's like, go ahead and apply for this 10,000 advance so that at least you have money and you won't have to close your business. And then when you do apply for the main EIDL loan, then they will subtract the 10,000 from your main loan. According to the SBA website, the EIDL advance is forgiven. It's forgivable. That means that you don't have to pay it back, that 10,000 that you get first. But when you do apply for the main EIDL, the 10,000 will be deducted from it. I do have to say that it's an easy application process. You do not have to replay the 10,000, but it is up to 10,000. So when it first came up, it was 10,000 for everybody. But then now they said it's up to 10,000. So if you have one employee, it might be 1,000. You may qualify for 2,000. So you may not get 10,000, but you will get up to 10,000. The application is online on the SBA website. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to fill that out. I see that Sabina pulled that up, and I can go through that real quick if I can pull it up on the larger screen.
Very simple in terms of, your business name, some of this information that was needed for the PPP. And I think the two things that probably they would ask you is the gross revenue for the 12 months prior to the disaster date, January 31st. So if
so your gross revenue, what I'm telling everyone is that, if you have your tax return, if you've been in business for more than a year, you can get that from your last tax return. If you're the one doing your bookkeeping, or you have somebody doing it, you should be able to get it from February last year to January of this year. If you don't have the February last year to January of this year, you can use January to December last year, because that's what you have for the 12 months. For Masjids, your gross revenue will be all the income, basically how much money did you bring in, because Masjids don't file taxes, and so they don't have a tax return to go look at. But you can look at how much money did we collect from February of last year to January of this year. And that's your gross revenue. Not what you spend out, but what you actually collected. That's your gross revenue. Now, it has for your cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is usually for businesses that are, not everybody has cost of goods sold. The accounting term was cost of goods sold. It will apply to people that have inventory, purchases, things like that. Those are the ones that have the cost of goods sold. But if you don't have a cost of goods sold, then that item will just be zero, meaning that you're not selling anything. So cost of goods sold is, I'm selling something, but this is what I pay to buy what I'm selling, or what I pay to make what I'm selling. Those are the people that have cost of goods sold. But if you're a services company, if you're a Masjid, you don't have a cost of goods sold. Your cost of goods sold basically will be zero. And so that's the information. The next thing that it has is, where are you now? I'm trying to find the form on my big computer. I'm just going by my head here, by heart. And so those are the two major things. The rest of the information is just asking for the owner's information. Oh, there's the non-for-profit. There's a place for you as a non-for-profit to put your information. If you give me a second, I want to open the loan so that I can be talking to you as I'm looking at it. It's on my computer. Sabina is opening it, but it's just so small. I cannot see it. So, but if you would take a look at it, if you have any question, you can ask it at this point. But it's a very basic, very, very fast application. It doesn't take any time. You can do it as somebody that is a sole proprietor. You can do it as an independent contractor. You can do it as somebody that have less than 500 employees. And so it's a two pages. The second page is just asking about the owner information. That's what you're going to have on there. And you're going to certify that you're not doing any illegal activity and all of that stuff. So very basic. Again, this is an advance that SBA is saying you don't have to repay, but it's part of the larger EIDL loan.
And I just let you know that that the last question it asks, I mean, you don't have to have any documents to prove. You don't have to upload any documents, but you want to make sure everything is correct, because they will have your EIN number, and they can verify things. But the last question was, I hereby certify under penalty of law that you're using this money for secular social services. So now on the SBA website, they've clarified that,
Mhm.
you don't
Yeah.
have to use it just for secular social services. So they've taken out that requirement, but you cannot go forward on this application unless you click that. So go ahead and click that. So whatever you're having to use it to keep your masjids going, if you're doing it for a masjid, go ahead and click that. And after this page, it's basically just verification of all the information you put in, and then you submit it. And that's it. It was a really quick application.
I do want to say that if you have employees, do the PPP loan, because the PPP, we know it's already solidified. We have the application process, everything is done. And we also know that if you use it for your payroll, it is forgivable. The entire thing is forgivable. And so I would say if you have employee, I will go for the PPP loan first. Now, the EIDL loan, I believe it's going to be the next paperwork that they're going to verify and get together. And I believe it will be part of that April 10 package that we're going to get. Now, what we are not sure of, which will need some clarification, is that the SBA did say that the $10,000 is forgiven. You don't have to pay it back. But does that mean that you have to apply for more than 10,000 once the main loan comes? That is the part that we do not have clarification on. If you get the 10,000, do you have to apply for more? Or do you have to get more? I don't think anybody can force you to take a loan that you don't need, but I'm not sure, there's no clarification on that yet. And so when you do apply for the IDL advance, somebody from SBA is supposed to contact you, and they will be asking you more questions before they approve it. But my understanding now is that they're trying to see if they can get the main big ones out as soon as possible. So go ahead and apply if you qualify, but do know that my advice is to do the PPP if you do have employees. That's more direct, that's more, that's a substantial amount, because it's a substantial amount of payroll. It's whatever you've paid in the last 12 months, the average multiplied by 2.75, I believe, or 2.5. And so that's an amount that we know of, and it's usually will be more than the 10,000. That would be my advice. If you do not have employees, I will say go ahead and apply for this, and then wait and see what happens. By April 10, we should have the contractor loan that will now be open, and we'll have more information by then. So maybe in another week, we can do another follow-up to see what that loan application now looks like. And that should have answered a whole lot of information that we have at that time. I also want to say that if you do qualify for a larger loan and you got the advance, my understanding is that they will net the advance from what you qualify for. So let's say your larger loan is now supposed to be 200,000, but you were approved for 10,000 advance, then you will only get 190,000. That's my understanding. Again, this thing is fluid, it's still changing, and we're still monitoring it. And we'll probably have another call in a week to see where we are and to provide more information.
So, Saikum, I had a quick question to clarify. I wanted to clarify something you just said. So you're saying if all of the employees at the masjid are under independent contractors, then we can't apply for the PPP? We don't have anybody.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So yes, when it first came out, they said that you could use your employees and use your contractors to determine the amount of the loan. That was the first instruction. But since then, they've come back and said, no, use your employees. I think the reason, and I'm trying to guess here, is that when this first came out, they were just going to do it for companies. Small business owner and contractors were not going to be able to apply for it. And so that's why they said, okay, use your contractors under this so you can continue to pay them. But Congress came back and said, no, we want to do something for self-employed people separately, because why would we keep lumping them with everybody else? So that's how the idea of let's now have a separate application for contractors and self-employed, which is the one that will come out on April 3rd. So if you think about it logically, if I have contractors that I'm paying and I'm using them as part of my application and getting money on their behalf, but then they're also applying as a business on their own, as a self-employed person that I'm paying, but then they said, you understand what I'm saying? It looks like a double dip. I think that's where that clarification comes in. And it's still fluid. Once they bring out the application for April 10th, we will know exactly where they're going. But my understanding right now is that your 1099, they're not your employees, they're contractors. They own their own business. That's what contractors are. When they file their tax return, they file a Schedule C as a small business owner. That's why they're not, by IRS definition, they're not your employees. And you don't pay them payroll. It's never payroll. They're vendors that you're paying as contractors. That's the way the IRS looks at it. And I think that's where this is going. Now, I don't know when you get to your bank, if your bank will let you do something else, because the original calculation was used then. But my understanding is that's now changed to where it's strictly payroll employees. And if we find out anything different, we will let you know. But that's the ruling as of now.
So I should tell them to go ahead and apply for themselves as independent contractors.
Yes, that would be what I would recommend for them to do. But that application does not open until April 10th.
Yes.
So that application will not open. Now, let me also clarify, brother, that those people that you're paying as contractors, if they have other people that they pay as their employees, like when I had my CPA practice, I had business with some counties and they pay me as a contractor and they give me W-9 as a contractor. But my office employs my office manager and some other people that work for my business, right? So I can qualify for the PPP because even though I'm a contractor, I'm getting money from other places, I'm an employer as well. So if the people you're paying have other people working for them, they can qualify if they have other people working for them as employees. Again, employees, not contractors. They can qualify for the PPP. But if they don't, then they will have to do the April 10 application. And we should have more information on that, inshallah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there was another question, and I know you've answered this. If you use the full amount for payroll in the next 8 weeks, is the principal and interest forgiven, or just the principal?
All of it is forgiven. If you use the full amount for payroll, 100% payroll, or 75% payroll, 25% on the approved expenses. And the approved expenses at this point is your utilities and your mortgage interest or your rent. Now, if you use it on something else, that's a different thing. But if you use 75% on payroll, if you use 100% on payroll, principal, interest, everything is forgiven. Or 75-25, principal, interest, everything is forgiven. One of the good things also about the PPP loan is that it does not have any fees attached. So when you do apply for a loan, you remember that you have to pay bank fees and there's this fee and that fee and closing costs. All of that is forgiven. So you do not have any loan fees associated with the PPP. If you go to a bank or somebody that says, oh, let me do it for you, it's only going to cost you $500, that's a lie. There should be no fee attached. If it is a reputable bank, and go to a bank, don't go to somebody that says, you don't need middlemen to do this for you. If you want to do the advance, you can do that online, straight fill it out. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. If you want to do the PPP, go to a banker. If your banker is not doing it, go to another bank that is doing it. But there will be no fees associated with it at all.
So another question was, so about 30% of my employees' wages are paid by tips. How do you include tips? And actually,
that will, when you your tips is salary that you're paying people, because the people that take, are you recording the tips? You do record the tips because it goes on the W-2. You when you pay tips and when you pay your employees by tip, when you look at that W-2 form, there is a place where you record your tips that you paid out. So as long as you have all of this recorded and it's showing up on your 941, that is proof that you're paying it. And
Assalamu
so
alaikum.
wa alaikum salam.
Sorry, that's my question. I'm sorry. Could I just get a? I'm sorry, just to
Clarification? Yes, sir.
clarify. So, interrupting. If I pay my employees, let's say $10 an hour, after tips, they get about $14 an hour. Should I be paying them at $14 an hour or $10 an hour? Because there won't be any tips after this. You know, when I put them back on payroll right now everything is suspended. I'm going to restart operations, but I'm going to be changing my business model. There's not going to be any tips. So do I just
Okay.
to maintain the rate of their salary? Do I maintain that rate at the $14 or at the base that
Yes.
I paid them before?
So before you were paying them $10 salary, and then they make about $4 in tips.
Yes.
But right now you're saying the way things are, nobody is coming to the restaurant, so they will not be getting the tips anymore. So
Yeah,
you're saying, do
exactly.
you pay them $14? So you're saying, should I pay them $10 an hour, or should I pay them $14 an hour?
Exactly.
That
That's the
is
question.
okay. What you pay your employee will be what you decide is their fair wage. But I think if you believe that their wage should be 14, you should pay them 14. The reason why I'm saying that is that I cannot tell you how much is the good wage for your employee. Does that make sense? But
I
if you
see.
calculated and said, historically, they've always been paid 14, then why would you pay them less now? So I think you pay
I
them
see.
14.
I
But
see.
if you said, okay, you're coming back, I've always paid you 10, we know business is slow, all I can pay you is the 10, that's an agreement between you and your employee. Does it make sense?
I see. I
But
see. And so, I see. Perfect. And
does
since
that
I
make
have you,
sense?
no, it does. It makes perfect sense. And since I have you here, can I just also
Yes,
ask
sir.
the question? There has been obviously changes. There will be a change in the business model as well as turnover with employees. So some employees are leaving. I have to restructure the labor and the staff profile. Am I
Yes.
expected to
Yes.
maintain everybody exactly as they were, or am I allowed
No.
to? Am I allowed to, kind of restructure?
You can restructure. You can restructure. It's based on the people that you're paying in that 8 weeks period, and so it doesn't mean that it has to be the same one you had last year. It's what is your
Okay.
workforce during that time period, and so it
Okay.
could be all new people. Now, let me say
Oh,
this.
okay.
Let me put this caveat in there, and I heard this from another presenter not too long ago that says that what we don't want people to do is now say, oh, this is free money here. Let me employ everyone in my family and everyone and my neighbor and put them on my payroll for the 8 weeks. And then after the 8 weeks, I'm going to let them go and reduce it back to normal. Does that make sense? So I'm saying
Yes,
that
100%. Yeah.
be very careful. I'm saying that to everybody on the call. If you used to have 10 employees before and you always work with 10 employees, doesn't mean you should go get 20 and then after 8 weeks, let the 10 go. If you don't have a need for it and they're not working for you, just be mindful, because if you cannot prove it, or if it's where you're audited and something is off and you have to pay back, that's not good.
No,
But
so as long as I can document that there was a
as
need
long
for
as
these
you
kind
can
of
document
employees.
the need, yes. As long
Okay.
as it comes to the justification. What
Okay,
can you
excellent.
prove? What? That's
Jazakallah
all
khair.
you do. Well, yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. So let's see.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Umoja from Knoxville.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, sir.
I saw a question that I was going to ask, and I think somebody else wanted to know your advice on the application for both the PPP and the emergency, the economic injury disaster loan, applying for both of them. I just heard you say that you said you thought the PPP should be the one for sure, that if you have employees, you should make application for. However, could both of them be out? Could you apply for both of them at the same time, inshallah?
My understanding is that you can apply for both of them right now. They're both up and you can apply for both of them. Now, if you qualify for both of them, I don't know what the SBA will do, whether they will give you both of them, or I do know that for the EIDL main loan, my understanding is that they will net, if you get the 10,000 emergency loan, they will net it from your other loans. So that way you're not getting both. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? If you get the 10,000 and then you get another loan for 200,000 that you qualify for, they will give you 190. They will not give you 200,000.
Right. So that's
you can apply for both.
That's in the EIDL.
EIDL.
Okay.
That is in the EIDL, but also in the PPP. My understanding in that application also, it asks if you got an advance.
You can ask for 10,000 in advance for both of them.
If you got the, no, you cannot ask for an advance in the PPP, but it will ask you if you got the 10,000 advance in the EIDL.
Okay.
They will take that into consideration when they're processing your loan.
So even if you get the 10,000 advance and you don't qualify for the economic injury disaster loan, that's forgiven. But still, if you get the PPP, that 10,000 that was forgiven for the other one comes out of your amount that you're getting for the PPP.
Yes, because there's a place where they will ask you if you've had any SBA loan before. So you will have to put that I got a 10,000 advance.
No.
And so my understanding is that the banker will take that into consideration and they will take that out.
Okay.
Now, if you did not get the PPP, you still have the 10,000. But if you get both, they would take that into consideration. Again, I will continue to say that all of this is still fluid. The bankers, SBA, everybody is still working through all of this will work out and what it means. I will also say that the advance loan, a lot of people has applied for it. A lot of people have not heard back from the SBA. So we don't even know. They may come back tomorrow and say, we're canceling the advance. We just want you to do the PPP or the EIDL. That could happen in 2 days, right? So we don't, it's just that it's up right now. And I'm saying that with the government, something may be up today, but it may not be up tomorrow. And so apply, see if you qualify for it, and then see where that goes. But if I have to make a choice between the EIDL advance and the PPP, and I have employees, I will go for the PPP. That's where I will go first.
Alhamdulillah. Shukran.
Afwan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, Sister Zulfat, I have one question. If we have an employee, W-2 employees, and then we turn to 1099, can we apply PBV loan?
If the employees is already 1099 now, no, you cannot. Because as of now and the period, now if you change them back, that's a different thing entirely. But right now, if they are 1099s that you have, they do not qualify for the PPP.
Yeah, my second question is like I received a letter from my bank, which they saying you have to have credit card to apply BBB. Is that gonna be how we can do it? We don't have a credit card.
They're not supposed, there's no requirement that says you have to have a credit card or you have to have a loan as part of what the is. There's no requirement that says you have to have a credit card or a loan. I know some banks are saying that. And so that's why I said that go to your banker. Some banks already know how to process SBA. Some banks know the information, but some banks don't. Some banks are new to this, and so they're still trying to figure it out. So if you go to your bank and your bank cannot do it, or your bank is giving you trouble, then I would take my business to another bank and ask the other bank if they would do it for me. And it may mean that I will have to change my banks. That's what that means. But they're not supposed to be asking if you have a loan. They can ask, let me put it this way. They can ask, but that should not be the condition for them to approve it, because the SBA said there's no guarantee required. There's no collateral required. The SBA gives specific to make it easy for banks to approve it. The SBA is guaranteeing all this loan 100%, which means that the bank cannot lose in anything. Let's say somebody defaults, something happened, SBA is going to pay the bank back. That's why the SBA is saying make it as easy on the people as possible. So your bank should be able to do it. But if they don't, find another bank.
Thank you, Sister.
You're welcome.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I have a question, please. Thank you for the information first. My question is, we just started a business this year, the first of the year. So in the application, it shows that we have to show the goods sold from last year, but we just started this year. So how can we do that? We just started the first of this year.
So the rule is that as long as your business is in place by February 15, you qualify. And so since you start the first of the year, you qualify. But where I'm gonna have, if I have 12 months of business and I'm gonna have 500,000 worth of cost of goods sold or gross profit, because you only have 1 or 2 months, then your information will be based on 1 or 2 months. That's the difference. So you put your information. Again, they will call you to ask you for information and verification at some point, and then you can show that, well, we started January 2010. If you are an incorporated business, it makes it very easy because you can show your incorporation with the state, and it has a date stamp. If you have an EIN number, you have the dates that you got your EIN number from the IRS. It has a date stamp. If you don't have any of that and you're just saying, oh, I just started a business, do you have a bank account open before February 15? Do you pay somebody? Do you have a bill? Do you have a lease? Do you have a contract? Do you have a utility that you pay? As long as you can show that your business was started before February 15, and I'm telling you the things that you can show to prove that, then you should be able to qualify. Your numbers will just not be based on 12 months. Your number will be based on 3 months.
But how are we gonna prove and show that our business is hurt because of the coronavirus?
I mean, what type of business do you have? You will have to assess that. Okay, so it depends on your business and how you get your customer. If your customer, you open in January, Corona did not happen until March, or the emergency, the state of emergency, the safe at home order was not until March, right? So you had 2 months of business. And so what has happened since the mayor said everybody should stay at home? Has your income gone down from what's your income in January? What's your income in February? What's your income now? That's how you're going to show that. And so since the safe at home is happened, people cannot come to my store. I'm a hairdresser. People cannot come and braid their hair anymore. You know, so you will have to make that assessment. I cannot make it for you. But you need to look at how is your business doing. You have 2 months historical data to show how your business was doing before people had to stay at home. And did that show up? Can you see a change? That's how you're going to prove that.
Thank you very much, sister.
No, you're welcome, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. I have a question. When do we know when we're expecting the money to come in, both for that $10,000 advance and the PPP money?
We don't. We don't. My understanding is that for the PPP, they've already given out 100 million of the 355 billion. Is it billion? 355 million. I can't even know. I don't know the numbers anymore. 355 billion. And so about 100 billion is already given out. So they're giving it out. So it depends on your bank, the processing and all of that. I don't have a set time to be able to tell you on the PPP. So, but once you apply, you go to your bank, you give them the information. I will encourage everybody that qualifies to apply as soon as possible, because it did say that they will keep giving it out until the money runs out. So if you go to your bank today and they do the paperwork and you qualify, it's up to the bank to release the loan to you as soon as possible. So they're releasing it as soon as possible. On the advance, the one that you do online, my understanding is that a lot of people have not got it yet, because they wanted the advance to be something that they give out quickly before the PPP was ready. But because they got the PPP to be ready so fast, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to the advance anymore. Like I said, they could come next week and say, we're not giving out the advance loan anymore. Everybody just do your PPP, because you're working with your bank and you're getting those loans very fast. You don't need the advance anymore. And by April 10, we're going to make sure that sole proprietor and contractor can get this same loan. You don't need that anymore. So they could cancel the advance for all we know. I don't know that, but I know a lot of people have completed it, but they haven't heard back. It's supposed to be 2 to 3 days turnaround, but most people have not got it by now. But I'm saying still fill it out if it's open. I don't know if you will get it, and I don't know when you will get it. The PPP you should get faster because it's now through your bank.
Okay, thank you. Jazakallah khairan.
Wayakum.
Any other questions?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair. The question, for what time period the 941 forms needed it to submit?
That's a good question. But if you are a business that has been paying people, let's say you've been in business for a year, you should have your 941 for the 4 quarters in 2019. If you're a new business that started in January, you should have the first quarter is already gone, which ended in March 31st. So you should have your 941 for the first quarter of 2020. And so now also remember that you may not be providing this until after you get the loan. So that means also that by the time you get it, the 8 weeks after that, then you do the 941 for that time. Okay, so I would say to apply for the loan, your bank will need your historical 941, something that happened in the past. But after the loan, if you want the loan to be forgiven, then you will need to make 941 for that 8 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're going to the bank to apply today. The bank is going to say, show us you have employees. You started January. You need to show employees from January to March. That's the first quarter. 941 is filed every quarter, right? If you started last year, you should have 5 941 by now. That's what the bank would ask. But once they give you the money, if you want the government to forgive it, in order to show that you spend it on payroll, then you have to submit the 941 after you got the money. And that's how that would work.
I see. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Wayakum. And I would say that, they want to make sure you're in business. They want to make sure that you're not closing. They want to make sure that you continue to do what you need to do. So if you have people that you need to put on your business, you've always had people working for you. If you decide that, I've always had contractors, and you can show that you have contractors, and you can show the 1099 that you paid to those contractors, meaning that these people have been working in your business, but you decide to make them all employees now, you could do that because you have a history showing that people were always working for you. It's just the way that you pay them. And you just need to make sure that you look at the definition of a contractor and an employee by IRS standard and see if that could change. So there's so many ways to look at that, but it's just that, what were you doing before? How do we make sure that whatever you're doing before, you are able to continue to do it? That's what that means. So I don't think it would be wrong to say I have 5 people working for me. They used to be contractors. I don't have them anymore. Now I have 5 employees. Now, why were they contractor before? That's a question you're going to have to answer to the IRS, because there's a difference between a contractor and an employee. So you need to make sure that you talk to your CPA whether that's something that is feasible or not. But just do what you used to do, and be honest and truthful with what you're doing, and be able to justify whatever decision that you make.
Yes, Salamat, sister. Just a quick question. If you don't get forgiven for the loan, for either of the loan, and do you still have to pay the interest? Is there a way to avoid paying the interest if you pay back your loan 6 months or a year or something? Or do you still have to pay the interest no matter what?
You will still have to pay the interest, because the way that it's written now is that the interest is deferred, right? And so it means that the interest is being calculated, you're just not paying it. So at the point where it's not forgiven, then you will have to pay the principal and the interest. Again, it's at 1%, so it's a very low amount. And I've heard, I don't know if Sheikh Osama is on the call, but I've had other scholars said that because this is a necessity and where we are and things like that, and so that it is okay, especially with the intent for it to be forgiven. So, but I'm not going to, you need to talk to your scholars about that, on where that stand, and we may check with Sheikh Osama and send something out for all of you.
So let me add right there, because I talked to Sheikh Osama. He couldn't be on the call today. He's a part of the FIC Council of North America, and they'll be, you know, officially ruling on it soon. But the Assembly of Jurists of America already gave a ruling on it that, you know, if you're having to choose between going out of business or staying in business, that at this moment, because of the crisis, because of the situation, that it was okay to take the interest. So you can look at that up with AMJA, the Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, and as soon as Sheikh Osama has something written out, I'll send it out. I really encourage all of you on the line, if you're not getting AMAC newsletters, sign up for it at www.amac10.org, and you can sign up for our newsletters. You need to be getting it, and we'll update information as much as possible and post this webinar, although I missed the first few minutes, but so you can go back and see. I haven't been unable to go on my computer and actually get the link to put in the chat box because I'm recording. But you know, those links are on our website, and we'll update those.
Thank you.
Inshallah. Inshallah. And I think that because there will be another application coming up on April 10th for small businesses and contractors, and I think Masjids that don't have employees, I think we can do another webinar maybe in another week, and that way we'll have some more information on that second type of loan. Also by then we may have updates on the advance as to what is the status of that as of that point. But we want to make sure that as we get information, like Sabina said, sign up to the AMAC newsletter, and also check our page. Sabina has done a wonderful job of having a resource page on the AMAC website. It's even more detailed than my website and many other websites that I've seen. And so make sure that you're familiar with those and send us your questions. If we don't have the answer, we'll be sure to try and get them for you from people that may know it. But we want to make sure that our community, that you all stay in business, your families are fed. We will also do another webinar, inshallah, for individuals on the things that is available on the unemployment insurance and some things that are available for individuals. I also want to say that it is important to note that the government wants you to stay open and they want the economy to keep going. Even if you don't qualify for the loans, even if you don't qualify for any of this program, if you paid your people during the COVID, and if you paid your people, even if you pay them when they're not working, you've heard about the sick leave, the Family First COVID Virus Act that allows for employees to be able to take time off. If you pay them while they're off, you can get credit from the government for that as well, through your payroll taxes. So there's still so many other things that you can get through that we'll be talking about, inshallah, as we get more information. So, but send us your question and we'll keep doing this, inshallah, to answer questions.
I have a very quick question.
Walaikum salam.
Do you want me to go or you want to go? I have a very quick question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. If you are self-employed and you don't have a payroll, you only have, you file your taxes through 1099. I've heard that you said that we're not qualified to apply for the loan. Is that correct? Have I heard you correctly?
So you're not qualified to apply for the PPP loan. So the Paycheck Protection Program you do not qualify for. There are other SBA loans that you can qualify for. The EIDL will be something that you will qualify for because that's for working capital. It doesn't mean just for payroll. So no, you do not qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program, but that does not mean that you're completely out. You qualify if you can show that the coronavirus impacted your business, there's loss of income, you qualify for the EIDL loan. So,
Okay.
and again, on April 10, inshallah, they will be having an application form for people that falls in that category specifically that don't have employee. This is the loan that they can apply for, and that should be up by April 10. The advance for that loan is already up, which you can apply for. So that's I hope there's no confusion there. So the paycheck is what you don't qualify for, but you qualify for the EIDL.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, because we were going to do the paycheck, but we've never had a chance to go do it. The year has started and it was everything rushing. Is it too late to do a paycheck or? Paycheck?
I would talk to my banker specifically about that, because if you don't have paycheck, you don't have payroll, how have you been doing your business before the virus? If you said I was using contractors, but now I want to do payroll, then that's a different thing. You know what I mean? So it's a question of, we don't want you to now say, let me start employing people because this money is available. The money is supposed to be, you were in business, you're struggling, we want to help you out. This is how we want to help you continue your business. But if you're not in business already, we don't want you to go start a business just because we have a relief out there. Or we don't want you to start doing something you were not doing before. We don't want you to do that. But like I said, if you've already had people working for you as a contractor, you've paid them, but they were not employees for whatever reason, and you're now saying, look, I have this proof, I paid these people, there's the check, there's the voided check. And as an accountant, as an auditor, I would tell you, it has to be something you can prove that you can show without a doubt. Meaning that what I would look for would be a check that you wrote in January to the person that the person already cashed. If you write the check in April, that does not tell me anything. Does that make sense? That tells me that you're doing it now. But if you did it before, then I can say, yes, she used to pay people, but they were not employees, they were contractors. Now she wants to make them employee. I can make that argument. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So again, it depends on what you can prove.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have one question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Do you know if the government is doing anything for the landlord that like rent properties?
So for landlords with properties, it's tricky. It's tricky in the sense that rental activities, there's people doing rental activities as business that file Schedule C, but there's also people doing rental activities as a passive income that file Schedule E. And so all of that is going to matter. I'm sorry, I'm trying to go away from my family that are talking and disturbing my call. So that's why you see me moving around.
That's fine.
But if you are a Schedule C real estate, then that's a business. You have people working for you, that's a business. If you're a Schedule E, you have people working. It's just, I think your Schedule E people will fall under the self-employed, which will be what the April 10 will address. That's my understanding. But I would say talk to your banker. I know that when it comes to real estate, it's very tricky because everybody's not the same. Some people just do it. They're not involved in it. It's a passive activity for them. They don't do anything. They just collect the money. Some people are more actively involved in their real estate business. So there's a difference in that. But my advice is that talk to your banker. If I want to guess, I would say that you will qualify under the self-employed April 10 EIDL part of not the PPP.
My situation is I have a job, then I got 2 rental properties. That's a passive income. And
okay.
So far that everybody, the tenant are still paying rent. But one is talking about he might lose his job and all, and there's a chance that he will not be paying rent. And you know, I cannot kick him out or anything right now. So if he decides to stop paying rent. Is the government doing anything for this type of
So
situation?
yes, that's where the EIDL will come in, because
Okay.
you're now saying that because of this virus, my renter lost their income, and so they cannot pay me rent. But because they're not paying me rent, I still have to pay my mortgage. I still have to pay my taxes. I still have to pay other costs associated with that business. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now you have a reason where you have a loss of income. You will not qualify for PPP, but you will qualify for EIDL.
I understand that. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Oh, I'm on video, and I'm telling you stop making noise. I forgot I'm on video. Sorry about that. I forgot I was on video for a minute.
If that's the last question, again, we said we probably need to. We probably need to do another one. One more question. Okay, go ahead. Somebody had a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Jazakumullah khairan for the knowledge of the sisters, and you're really a great asset to our community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you immensely.
I mean,
the question that I have is that if I could give you an email, would you be able to send me this presentations detail or just a highlight just for me to refer back to?
what we want to do, inshallah, is that after this session ends, we're recording it, and so we will put it on our website. And the same thing with the presentation will be on the AMAC website. I think that would be better than trying to email it to people individually. I also like the idea.
Give me the website.
AMAC, www.amactn.org. AMACTN.org. Sabina put it in the chat. And so all the resources that we have, the presentation, the video, we will just put it on the website. When you also sign up for the newsletter, we will put that link in our newsletter that go out, and that way you can look at it. I will also say this as an accountant, and I think it's very important for me to say this. I'm answering these questions on a general terms based on what you're asking me and what I know. I will put a caveat that there's no one cap fits all answer to questions. It depends on the situation and the circumstances. So if there's something you did not tell me, then the answer that I gave you may not be applicable. And so it's very important for you to understand that. And so when you do go into your banker, that you are upfront with all of the situations. If you want to contact me personally and you have a more detailed question, Sabina will send you the AMAC email. I will try to respond, but I'm trying not to do that because of time. But I'm saying that please be very mindful that I have to say that as an accountant, as a disclaimer, that you cannot say Sister Zulfat said ABCD if Sister Zulfat did not know X, Y, and Z. So want to put that out there.
No, I certainly appreciate that. My question was that is there a way that we could
yes, sir,
in this area that will help me complete this? And if so, can I receive the information of
yes,
paying for the service charges? Although the government doesn't require me to pay for it, if I do that, it takes
you were
off
breaking up. So
I don't mind paying surcharges, but I wanted to have. I don't mind paying for the service charges, but I would like to have anybody who could help me out completing this application.
So we talk about that, and we're going to look into whether we can find somebody that through AMAC can do that. Your PPP application, you probably do that with your banker, and they will not charge you a fee for that. So that's a free service. There's no fee attached to it. I would not even pay anybody to do it for me. I would say just talk to your banker, let them do it for you, and it's free of charge. That's my recommendation. On the advance, again, like we showed the form is very, very simple. That's why we showed it to you. The two questions that can be very tricky that most people may not know what to do with is the question about your gross income and the question about your cost of goods sold. If you've been in business for more than a year, you should have that information on your tax return, whether it's your 1120, your 1065, or your 1040 Schedule C. That information should be there. If you have an accountant helping you do your sales tax, helping you do your business taxes, they should be able to give you your information, because the federal government wants from February 2019 to January 2020, right? So if you have an accountant, they can get you that. But if you don't have one, you don't have that information. If you look at your last year tax, it should be very close, because it should be, you have that 12 months there. Your cost of goods sold will be on there, your gross income will be on there. If you're a new business and you don't have your tax return, if you've been keeping record of what you've been doing, if you're making sales and you're saying this is how much money, take your sales tax return for the last 3 months, add them together, that would be your gross income. Or if you have other way of recording your, I don't know what type of business you have, how do you record what people pay you? Did you put it on Excel spreadsheet? Do they pay you all with a check? Does it just go into your bank? You need to tally all the money that you make in that 3 months. That is your gross income. Before you deduct anything that you spend, that's your gross income. The other thing that is also tricky, or which people are not sure of, is your cost of goods sold. If you are selling things, you are a restaurant, you sell food, right? In order to sell the food, you have to pay for the grocery, you have to pay to transport it, you have to, there's so many things that goes with what you're selling. If you have a bookstore, you have to buy the books. Those people will have cost of goods sold. How much does it pay you to buy or make the things that you're selling? That's the people with cost of goods sold. But if you're not selling anything, you're a CPA, I just provide services, I'm not selling anything. You're a Masjids, you're not selling anything. You're AMAC, you're not selling anything. Then you don't have a cost of goods sold, because you're not paying anything to buy or make something, you're not selling anything. Your cost of goods sold would be zero. If you are, so I hope that makes sense. Those are the two, the extinction, those are the only two questions on the form that you need to decide on. If you have any more question on that, if you use an Excel spreadsheet, oh, well, Sabina is putting something there to track it, then that's what you have. I think what I see as an issue is that we need to do better with our record keeping, but you have your bank account, right? Every time you make money, you deposit in the bank account. You can add up all your deposits, which is what IRS would do if you're audited, to determine how much money you brought in. And you can take out, you know, how much did you pay for your expenses. So I would say it shouldn't be a lot of problem to do that. If you still, excuse me, if you still need help, then maybe there might be accountant or people that you need to talk to. Unfortunately, I'm not in practice anymore because of my full-time job and also with the council. I wish I could say I would help everybody that need help, but I know that the time is limited for me. But there are other CPAs out there that you can go to. If you have a bookkeeper that you can go to that can add up your expenses and your income for you.
Great. Allah Jazakumullah khairan. And I also have a couple properties. Again, I have never claimed those properties income on my tax return.
You've never claimed?
Those income that I received, this is cash and temporary, not long-term tenants over there. So off and on, they paid cash.
The IRS says that if you are in self-employed business and you make profit of more than $400, you're supposed to file a tax. If the money that you made less the expenses that you spend comes to $400 or more, you're supposed to file a self-employment tax return. If people are now filing their return, that is not right. They're supposed to be doing that. And if you've not filed a return, then it is impossible to prove that you've been in business. So the only way the government can prove that you've been in business and that you need help right now is if you can show record that you've been in business. But if you've never filed a Schedule C, you've never filed anything that shows you have a business, then I will say don't apply because you cannot prove that, and don't do it. Don't do it. You have nothing to show for it.
Okay. Wallahi, great. Once again, Jazakumullah khairan.
Welcome. All right. Thank you all so much. I think that's the last question, Sabina.
There may be two more, but I think we should wrap it up within a few minutes anyway.
One question. There is one question about security expenses.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just put it on chat.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I missed some points or some part of the meeting. I wasn't listening.
Go ahead and say your question.
Yes, Sister Zulfat, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallahu khairan. We all appreciate and highly value your time. Jazakallahu khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. For the masjid, because of the masjid being closed, suddenly the masjid decided to spend some money on security, put new cameras, extra lights around the building. That sudden expenses cost from 2,500 and up to 5,500, let's say. Can this be covered or be accepted by the EIDL loan, or the loan? And
when did the masjid make these expenses?
Just last week. Just decided last 2 weeks. Yes, we spent some money on lights, signs, and we started improving the security cameras just because the masjid is closed all the time, nobody there, even during daytime. So we had to make sure that the area or the premises would be safe and well protected during day or night.
Okay. So what you just said is that because of the virus and having to close the masjid, you have to spend this extra money.
Yes.
And so you've been able to tie it back to the virus costing you money. And if you can also tie it to the fact that the masjid is not open and you're receiving less donation, that also coming into why you can qualify for the EIDL loan. And so now if the masjid have an employee, like I said, my preference is go and do the PPP loan. But if you don't have employee, let's wait until the April 10 and see the one that is available for self-employed and other people and see. But yes, you just told me that because of the virus, you're losing money, but you also have to incur some additional expenses, and that's your justification for applying for the loan. So let's wait and see what that April 10 loan looks like, and then go from there. Right now, you cannot do the PPP if you don't have any employees.
No,
the
PPP for school only. I understand the PPP. If we are applying for PPP, it's going to be just for our school because we have teachers there. We have full-time school and we have Friday school.
And they're W-2s.
Both. We have W-2 and 1099.
Okay, so you can do it. It's the same EIN for the masjid and the school. So the masjid is the one applying for its employees, which is through the school. Yes, you can do that for your W-2 employees. Now, here's where it gets very interesting, is that I don't know if you can apply for both PPP and the EIDL. That gets very interesting. So if you qualify under the PPP and you're able to get a loan under the PPP, then are you able to apply for the EIDL full loan again? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So if we apply for PPP, we cannot apply for the other one. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. And I've seen different things on it. Again, when I did ask originally, they said you could apply for both. But I would want to wait a little bit on that to be sure, because it's very fluid. In the beginning, they said you can apply for both loans, but then I saw somewhere today where it said no, you can only do one. So we need to be sure which one is in the best interest of the organization and which one gives you more to apply for.
Yeah, Jazakallah khairan, Sister Zulfat. I really appreciate your time, your effort. Jazakallah alf khair.
I think we can wrap it up there. Jazakallah khair, Sister Zulfat, for all that information. I did record the meeting, but I did miss the first few minutes. But
we appreciate your time and your effort too, Sister Sabine.
Jazakallah khair. So, Sister Zulfat, do you want to end it with the dua?
Inshallah. I also want to encourage the Masajid because one thing that we want you to know is that oftentimes when Sabina sends stuff out, Sabina is sending it to the Masajid leaders. We don't have the emails for your Masajid members. And I think there's a lot in our community that have businesses that can benefit from this information. And so I'm hoping, inshallah, that you will post when AMAC send out the newsletters, that you will post the links to the video and also to the resources so that other members of our community can benefit from it. And if there's further question, please send it to Sabina. I will do my best, inshallah, to try and get the answers to the ones that I can. And if I don't know it, I will try to, inshallah, find answers from other places. And I'm committed, inshallah, that we will do another webinar for the Masajid and the contractors, and another one for individuals too, inshallah.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاك الله خيرا sister.
وإياكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And again, look at our website and emails for updates and the recording. Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.